we have over 66 European clubs who are affiliates to us. And we supply more, like, if I can use that word, we feed them with talent, developed talents. And we have access to thousands of academies, in Europe as well, football academies, that will integrate you and also develop you to their taste. And
Let me ask this question. Do you think the average Ghanaian can afford a 1,000 cedis every month?
One thing about football is you find yourself where the relevant institutions and relevant, tools that are necessary for your exposure are. And there are not many places like that.
Very true.
So if you end up paying a little fee for a very long time at a place, there are no structures to engineer your growth. You understand? And your exposure in the international community. You are better off thinking about it, and making the relevant investment needed. Listen, any good thing that you wish to do, once it is something you want to pursue, you invest. You will be amazed that a club can train a player for many years. And there will come an opportunity for the player to travel, only to discover that the player's age in the FIFA Connect system does not correspond with his passport details. And a lot of players' career has been cut short because of this negligence. So a football administrator must be mindful of the fact that for any given player, once it's football business I'm into and I intend to yield results, my focus must be that the player must be a wholesome player. Wholesome player in the sense that I shouldn't have issues about your personality. You understand? Because a lot of players have dual identity on the FIFA Connect system, which in short means you do not have a career.
Alright, you're welcome to another episode of the Gajio Podcast, your hub of all sporting related activities and content. Today on the show, I'm joined by a man who wears a lot of hats in football, a savvy agent, a good scout, a bird eye scout, and a football administrator. He's seen it all as far as football administration is concerned. So he's here to share his wealth of experience with us, what we need to know about football administration. And most importantly, a lot of Ghanaian players have been complaining about the fact that administration in football is not well built, or whatever the situation is. So he's here to tell us what it is. This is the Gajio Podcast again. You make sure that you follow our channel on YouTube as GMN Sports. On TikTok is GMN Studios. You click on the notification bell so that anytime we drop a content, you'll be the first person to be notified and enjoy all of our content. Let me welcome to you my guest, Mr. Benjamin Owusu Ansah.
Thank you very much.
I kept you waiting, but you have to forgive me for this.
It's all works.
Before we delve into details, let me ask this question, because a lot of players have been complaining, not only players, football fanatics. Ghana football, and running new administrators, and they are no good. Is that statement true?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Benjamin Owusu Ansah. Like you mentioned, I'm an astute football administrator. Football is a learning game, so you never know it all. So just like you indicated that, have seen it all. I am still learning, and I tell you, it's a space that encompasses many boundaries. I also have a CAF license. I'm a licensee coach.
Licensee?
Yes, CAF licensee. And I'm certified with scouting as well, with MVP from MVP school in Spain. It's an online program I did.
Okay.
And I'm an IT administrator, because I have some backgrounds in network engineering, system security management, CCNAs. So when it comes to configurations and configurations of switches and routers, that's something that I work with.
So I ask you, what don't you do?
Yeah, so that's basically it. And my role as a football administrator, I have been privileged to play different functions and roles. And I am opportuned to detail what football administration encompasses.
Yeah.
So to start with your question, it will be better to state what at all encompasses football administration, the different compositions of football administration. I'll take it from this angle. Number one, we can talk about governance and compliance. What it means is that the football system has an architecture, and that architecture is from a mother parent, that's FIFA. And FIFA has children, about 6 children to a layman's perspective. And these children form the different confederations that manage football worldwide. So we can talk about the likes of AFC, that is Asian Football Confederation. We can talk about the likes of CAF, that is
Confederation of African
exactly the Confederation of African Football. We can talk about the likes of CONCACAF. That is basically Confederation of Northern and Central American and the Caribbean Association of Football.
So that is CONCACAF.
Exactly a combination of the Caribbean and then some parts of Northern and Central America. And we talk about CONMEBOL. So CONMEBOL is
South America.
that's where the engine for production of football usually is.
The engine, as in the top players.
Yes.
Okay.
CONMEBOL. So that's the Southern American league. And then we have OFC, that is Oceania Football, Confederation, and then we have the UEFA.
OFC, that is where we get New Zealand.
Very good.
and the likes.
Fiji's,
Fiji,
exactly. Papua
Papua
New Guinea. These are, all countries that. So this is actually the, architecture of football, and that falls under what I call governance. You understand, and compliance. Compliance because there has to be rules that govern how football is played. There has to be rules governing how administrators should behave. You understand? And all these things are put together by FIFA and its stakeholders just to make sure football has life in the international community. And one amazing thing is that all these also creates boundaries or demarcated areas where people must operate, and it does not undermine anybody's relevance. For example, if I'm an African, by virtue of my location, I fall under CAF.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And if you're a European, by virtue of your geographical location, you fall under UEFA. You get it? So if I intend to pursue any career in football and I use my route, the world should accept it. And these are some of the things that create a lot of the problems that we have in football administration. A typical example is I should pursue CAF license courses. And after pursuing CAF license courses as an African, the world system should be able to accept my license. So if I travel to Europe to practice with my CAF license, it should suffice. You get it? But there are a lot of problems that are still in talk, and I hope that in the near future they are going to be realigned. So when you find yourself in AFC, Asian Football Confederation, in football architecture, there are automatic rewards or financial benefits that you are attracted to by virtue of the fact that you find yourself in that location.
In Asia.
In Asia. So we call something categorization. in terms of solidarity claims and then compensation, training compensation claims. In Asia, there are category 1 to 4 margins, but for rewards, it starts from category 2. And there are a few countries, in Asia that have that benefit. What it means is that if you're in a category 2 country, the minimal compensation claim you can benefit as a club, you understand, is about $40,000.
$40,000, is it within a specific duration?
That's based on the timeline for transfer of any given player.
Wow.
Do you understand? So that is AFC. So we're talking about Australia. We're talking about countries like
Japan, China.
IR Iran. You understand?
Which one is the
So
IR Iran?
so it's actually, I don't know how to literally, because I'm trying to find a club that I'll place reference and get you specific names of clubs that fall within that. And amazingly, they are in category 2. So, and they rate higher than a country like Ghana benefits and CAF, some countries of CAF. Basically, all countries of, because CAF starts their ratings at about $30,000.
And that should obviously go to these Egyptian and Moroccan
Exactly.
clubs.
Exactly.
Probably South Africa.
Exactly. Oh, but Ghana is a bit. So we have, so for AFC, we have Australia, the category 2 clubs. We have Australia, we have IR Iran, we have Korea Republic, and we have Japan. You see. So the rest, Kuwait, UAE,
Kyrgyzstan.
they are all category 3, 4
But
clubs.
these Saudi clubs,
Yeah.
they are also under AFC.
Yes, specifically under AFC. So AFC, Asian Football Confederation.
So does it mean Al Hilal are categorized below?
Specifically so.
Okay.
It is a standardized measure by FIFA that all world football operates by.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, of course, for AFC. Then you come to CAF. CAF, you're talking about the likes of Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Cameroon, Algeria, yeah. All these are clubs that fall within the category 2. You see, then we have the Gambia, some others that fall within the category 3, 4 domain. Then we talk about CONCACAF, that is configuration of Northern Central. So, of course,
Clubs in the US.
Mexico, US, you understand? Yeah, Guatemala, all these are, and these are even category 2 clubs that earn close to, CONCACAF specifically earn close to 50,000.
So they earn more than Asia?
Yes.
50,000?
Yes.
Right, so
Yes.
these clubs in Costa Rica, Honduras,
Yes.
Alajuelense, Islands, and these
Yes,
clubs.
yes.
Wow,
So it's AFC 40, CAF 30, okay, CONCACAF 40, then CONMEBOL 50, then OFC Onisha. Onisha earns about 20.
Yeah. They should even earn around 10.
And about 20, and then 10.
UEFA,
and then UEFA rates
8.
from 90, 60.
Wow.
Yeah. So the peak is 90. Then it drops down. That's category 1.
So that should be for the
Barcelona,
top 5.
You understand? All those
leagues.
elite clubs.
Okay.
So then we talk about the category 2 clubs earning 60K. And then category 3 earning about 30K. Then, category 1 about 10K. So that's even for governance and compliance. I'm trying to elaborate on what football administration is about, because people think that specific roles just imply football administration. So then we talk about the likes of, CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, Oceania, UEFA, and then they also have their own margins. Now, after governance and compliance, where you find all the FIFA rules and regulations and what have you, the next key thing that depicts that you are into football administration business, this will interest you, is what we call football ethics. Ethics.
Yeah.
So this is usually captured under logistics and let's say logistics and administration. So in a larger sense, this is how it works. You are looking at how you're going to organize league, how you're going to put together materials to make a league successful, how you're going to harness human resource to make sure a league is successful, and what have you. You understand? Then we talk about finance and budgeting. So finance and budgeting is literally how you go about disbursing funds to or allocating funds to football related stuff, or how you engineer your finance as a club, as a football organization or an entity. You understand? Yeah. So that's where auditing comes in, regulations on how much you are to charge and how much you are not to charge, cap fees, and all of that. So FIFA has a policy for agents, what they are to, how much or the extent they are to earn, and what they cannot do. So when a player or a club earns about less than $200,000, CAF gives agents the possibility of earning more than like 5%.
Okay.
You understand? 5%. But when the club earns more than or receives more than $200,000, then it reduces to 3%.
Okay.
But on the case of the club, for all transfers is about 10%. And at the player level is 6%. So all these fall under, what I call the logistics, and admin. Then from there, we've spoken about finance. All these fall under finance. I mean, finance and budgeting. Then after finance and budget, you come to competition management. So competition management, this is where we look at how competitions are organized, in terms of tournaments and all of these things, how they are segregated, the proper running of it, the recruitment of referees, you understand, match officials, match commissioners, and many more. Then we talk about players, player administration. You understand? Player administration is basically talking about all transfer related matters that a player goes through, a player is subjected to. So more like player management. And as an administrator, it is so important that you understand who a player is, because in the football ecosystem, FIFA regards the player as the most important. You understand? And your duty is to know the do's and don'ts around the player. Your duty is to understand the regulations within which the player operates in, and what have you. And then we talk about, IT in football administration.
Yeah.
So basically, we are talking about, in IT, we're talking about how you manage data. A lot of football administrators, especially club managers, have dismissed that important place of data management. So they get up, they are running a club, they don't care about, all these very important things. And then there comes a time where a player has to travel. You understand?
Need all of these particulars, and
And-
they are nowhere to be found.
You understand?
A lot of players have complained, I think, about this. This one says I have to go through days. They tell me go and come, and a whole lot of stuff, which is already affecting.
Exactly.
The growth
And
of the players.
it works hand in hand with the player management, because you should have a database that informs you about what the player is about. You will be amazed that a club can train a player for many years, and there will come an opportunity for the player to travel, only to discover that the player's age in the FIFA Connect system does not correspond with his passport details, and a lot of players' career has been cut short because of this negligence. So a football administrator must be mindful of the fact that for any given player, once it's football business I'm into and I intend to yield results, my focus must be that the player must be a wholesome player. Wholesome player in the sense that I shouldn't have issues about your personality. You understand? Because a lot of players have dual identity on the FIFA Connect system, which in short means you do not have a career. You may succeed today by somebody helping you beat around the system.
So the dual identity is referring to the footballer's details.
Yes.
So this is
Kofi Menu.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Kofi
he's
Menu.
also Kofi Frempong.
With a
Kofi Menu is
different
the
date of birth.
exactly. And this happens when an opportunity comes and he's really a talented player, and they are looking for a specific age margin. And the player feels that the best approach to getting this opportunity is to change my identity, because it will be close to impossible reducing the age in the FIFA Connect system. And they change their identity to, pair up their own age cap so that they can fit into the opportunity that is available. But it is wrong. It is wrong. Football ecosystem is so huge such that there are opportunities for every age margin. So you just have to understand that, there's a
But
problem.
Do you believe a club will go out for, okay, I need this position, I want a left back, I need this skill, I need these attributes, but I want a 27 or 28-year-old. Is it possible?
So this is how it works. When you set on the journey of football, if I want to be an accountant or I want to be a lawyer, there are laid down procedures, and there is an age margin. You should know that there are risks. So if you approach law at an early age, the probability of finishing quite early and smoothly is high. If you approach law at a later age, it doesn't mean it is impossible. That's not the, it is possible, but there are challenges. And that's how the football ecosystem is. The earlier you understand that I want to play football, I start early. I get into whatever procedures that are relevant for my success in this football career. You see, but people don't do that. People sit and they just come to themselves that, hey, this guy is earning this, I also want to earn that. And they jump onto the scene at a later, stage. But we must be very conscious about the football business, because age is important. And we are not saying that you at 27, you understand, so you should be left behind when it comes to football opportunities. No. When you are developing as a player, you are already mindful of the career span of a footballer. You get it? So there are opportunities you do not joke with. Players joke with opportunities.
What is the career span of a footballer?
By the age of 19, you should have established yourself in a European club. You know why? The transfer trigger for players is usually at the age of 16. If I say transfer, I'm talking about international transfers. So when you sign as a professional at the age of 16, that's when your club benefits from you.
Okay.
And that's where agents also tend to benefit from you. But reasons why people ignore ages like 25, 26, reasons why they ignore them, especially if they've not had a long-term football career by going through the divisions. I mean, Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, Premier. When you go through that route and you're even 25, there is a transfer market value on you. And if you have the opportunity to play some national teams it gives you more credibility. It boosts up your international transfer market value.
So that is if it represents your country in
Exactly.
national team matches.
Exactly.
To boost your value.
It boosts, and different competitions that you play in, all
Okay, these are factors that boost your value as a footballer.
Exactly. Not as a footballer, but as a footballer on the international transfer market system.
Are there any known footballers who have gone through these divisions that are not on the international transfer market?
Plenty. And you see, what accounts for that is football administration. The player is a novice. His sole aim
Is to play.
is to play. The person who is managing the player, or the entity that is managing the player, that is the club, should take the responsibility in knowing what brings money to the club through the players. And when you know and understand these things, you actually engineer, because you do not automatically jump onto the transfer market system. You get it? And not just market system, but there are also specific data performance analysis and metrics that clubs are not willing to invest to project the player. We are talking about IT, to project the player in an international front properly. For example, a Division 2 player cannot be on the transfer market value or market system. Reason is the age cap, number one, the category expectation for qualifying you onto the transfer market, system is not there for the Division 2 clubs. And
In
even
Ghana.
the level in Ghana, and even the level of competitions, that players play in is not something that. But when we talk about Premier League, and then Division 1 leagues, they even have more opportunities to play international tournaments and what have you. So you are better off utilizing data performance metrics to the advantage of your players, and intentional profiling or CV profiling of your players, and video editing, qualities to do what? To give specific value
To the players.
to the players. Once these things are not done, you end up being an administrator who is interested in just earning. You understand?
Not the growth of the players.
And not the growth of the players. And you earn very little. Why? Because you hoard players and they grow out of the game. They grow out of it. This is what happens, because you do not have any specific marketing strategies that should put your players on the international, market. Yeah. So these are, in terms of IT, these are things that also, contribute to the world of football administration. We talk about recruitment in football administration. You see, it is sad, but the Ghanaian community, I'm sure it's an African problem, is such that their aim is the end result and not the one engineering the process.
Okay.
If I employ you as a graphics person, do you understand? Your value is to make sure all work within your space is properly done, and there has to be clear job description.
Yeah.
If another person is if social media influencer, they have specific rules. If somebody is an accountant, there is no way you should place one person's value over the other. And in recruitment process and staffing, the challenge often is that these young, they are administrators as well, are not given the opportunity to, unearth what they really can do. You get it? So you end up being boxed. You get it? And it's not because you cannot do, but it's because somebody feels you are taking their job from them, you understand, or something. So as an administrator, you have to understand that every individual is important, and you have to incentivize them to be able to do the kind of job that is required to achieve the relevant results. So if you are a club and you have somebody that manages the FIFA Connect system, that is a specific responsibility that needs, incentives. Even if you cannot give incentives, keep a good relationship, human relationship, and try and incentivize the person. When you are when you are a club and you have somebody that just does graphics and posts, that's a specific rule. You should not allow old people in the club to undermine the efforts of these young, talented people who bring value to the development of a club. And when, this undervaluing sets in, that's where people don't care about the outcome of the, because they can see that you compromise at this level, but you esteem this as high.
Yeah.
But in football administration, you don't work with one thing. Everything is important, and you must be particular about how you disperse your role. And the other thing is sponsorship and partnerships. It will interest you to know that there is no careful plan on how to solicit for funds or how to seek for investors or investment into a club. It is difficult to run football in Ghana and in Africa at large. Why? Because your sole goal is to get one player sold. But while you wait, you are paying officiating fee, you are paying affiliation fee, you are paying, transport fee, you are feeding the players, you are paying clubhouse fees. So if people pay these things for years, 20 years, 30 years, but they don't put together these important things that are relevant for the player to gain the necessary attraction and then, be sold in the international community. So this is basically, these are things that are very important that football administrators are to be mindful of. So governance and compliance, as I did indicate, talking about the architecture of football in general, then after governance and compliance, the next thing you are looking out for, is logistics.
Yeah.
You understand? Then after logistics, you're looking at financing and budgeting. How when you're registering a club, you register the club as a company. But people do not run clubs as companies. They run it as a family, something, or friends and family something. But it's business. So you should have a clear financial report, auditing system, that gives you that room. So after finance and budgeting, then you look at player management. So player management, that's where we talk about what you have to do as an administrator to put value on the player. You understand the opportunities you must create for the player and all of that. Even incentives, you understand. Yeah, many people camp players and there's no clear-cut plan on what they want to do for the players. And the players outgrow in those little spaces and you see them wandering about. Players are very desperate.
I'm very interested in this topic. Before I go deeper into that, you mentioned officiating.
Yeah.
The club should pay officiating fees.
Yes, officiating fees, affiliation to the body organizing the leagues.
So let's say I am Nations FC.
Yeah.
I should pay officiating fees to Ghana Premier League or the Ghana Football Association.
Yes.
Does it happen everywhere?
So it's a good question. It doesn't happen everywhere. That's something that I have to say. Number two, the organizing agencies, for example, the Ghana Football Association and their regional associations are actually doing very well when it comes to supporting some of these initiatives. Why? Because I tell you, we have so many juvenile or cold clubs.
Yeah.
Everyone,
2,000.
everyone gets up and is like, I'm gonna start,
A team.
a team.
Yeah.
You get it, and you become a responsibility of the association, even though it was your personal interest.
Is there a necessity for a coach club to be registered as well?
Every club must be registered and be on what we call the FIFA Connect system.
Okay.
And you must comply with the rules and regulations of the association. That's when you have a league. That's when you can receive a referee to officiate your matches. That's when you can receive a match commissioner, because these are, entities also that are sent from the football association. Yeah. So to add to your question, it is not everywhere, but it's because of the size of clubs that emanates. For example, at the juvenile level, the FA makes attempts or efforts to cut down some of these costs, but more can be done. You understand? Then Division 3, you pay some regions pay officiating fee. Others benefit from sponsorship from investors, and organizations, NGOs, what have you, that end up waiving off
Those costs.
exactly. So they end up playing the league without those costs. Division 2 leagues, yes, sometimes, because these are run by the region. Division 2, Division 3, juvenile. The ability of the region to solicit for investors, and sponsorship takes care of these minute costs. But if the region is not able to lobby or garnish sponsorship for themselves, then it becomes a burden on the clubs, to absorb. So that's basically the
And
technicality.
then the Division 1 to Premier
The
League.
Division 1 and Premier Leagues have, they are run by the Ghana Football Association,
Okay.
and they are not subjected to payment of officiating fees and what have you, but they have their own line of cost they absorb. But the government or the association tries to make it easy to manage or run these clubs, usually because of their locations, and availability of pitches, and all of these. Their cost is usually compounded, at the beginning of the year. But I believe there should be a new narrative, where more attention is driven to grassroots football, than the Ghana Premier League. Very soon, I believe those things are going to
be looked at.
to be looked at. Exactly.
Do you have a club?
Do I own a club?
Do you own a club?
I don't own a club.
Do you manage a club?
I don't manage a club.
Are you an administrator
So
for any club?
So this is what it is. I am an administrator for a boot camp.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens on just Saturdays.
Okay.
And
give an insight of the boot camp. I'm watching you. What is the boot camp?
so you can see me in my beautiful outfit, Mirage Soccer Boot Camp.
Okay.
This initiative was, couched by Mr. Sapon, Ochre, who is actually an elite football administrator as well. Okay. He was the first to actually bring Willy Sagnon to Ghana.
French right back.
Yes, who played for. He was actually the former assistant coach for Bayern Munich.
He's currently a coach for
Georgia national team. Exactly, and
yes.
in the Euros League,
yes.
he managed to beat Portugal in a 2-0.
Yes, I think he played Portugal. He played Turkey.
Exactly, and yes, so he was the first to bring Willy Sagnon to Ghana, and he introduced him to the Ghana Football Association as well, to bid for the national team role, where he was shortlisted and even went for interview around 2017.
So he actually wanted Sagnon to take over the role as the head coach of the Black Stars.
Yes, around 2017. I mean, it was a proposal because it was a vacant, role as at the time. Then He also brought Eddie McGoldrick, who was former Arsenal and Crystal Palace, midfielder to Ghana, and he actually managed Mirage Football Academy. He acted as the head coach, for some time. So I'm talking about Mr.
Which
Sapon.
year was this football academy established?
The academy has been in operation since 2011. However, the boot camp is a little over a year. And the idea is to bring international standard of football to the African community. The beautiful thing is that it's not just Europeans that are in to do the coaching. Like I mentioned, I am part of the coaching staff and I'm a CAF licensee. We have CAF Bs. For example, Coach John Welbeck, who was formerly of Mediama and Dreams FC and currently the U16 assistant coach, is also on the team. Coach Ambassador Fredwa Benson, formerly of IAS AFC. And then Pexwol, he is also on the team as
Pexo in Netherlands.
Exactly, in Netherlands. And then we have Coach Isaac Bonin. He is actually the head of recruitment, talent recruitment and identification at Chelsea Football Club. And he's been at Chelsea for close to 15 years. Identifying talents. He's a fitness instructor as well. So in terms of talent development, top notch. He's in Ghana now and he's often with us at the boot camp on Saturday. The venue is Bostal Avenue, Bostal Institute. That's adjacent Ghana Gas. There's an AstroTurf there. We train between 10 a.m. and then 12 p.m.
Is it that AstroTurf where Greenville Academy train?
Yes, it is inside the prison yard. It's inside the prison yard. And the beauty of it is that we also ensure that the players, have access to the relevant football opportunities that are in the world. For example, I don't know if you know Gideon Ban of Kotoko fame. His deal to Finland. Exactly.
Gideon Ban was part of Emiten Soccer Academy.
Yes.
The first.
Yes.
Yeah, he won the first. Yeah.
Yes. So Mr. Sapon actually helped with negotiation of his transfer to the club in Finland, that is Honka FC.
Okay.
Exactly. And then there's one player, Prince Asari. He had the opportunity of benefiting from a full scholarship, and he's he's playing in the MLS as
A
well.
full scholarship from Mirage.
From Mirage through an academy, Backwood Academy in UK. So that's a football academy. He was able to complete their A-level program, and from there he had access to a Scottish League One, to have his.
So he's currently playing for.
Come
He's still
again.
playing.
Yeah, he's
in Scotland.
He's playing for
Edinburgh.
what's the name of the? I'll get the name of the club and
So
then share
the
with you.
Scottish Championship
Yes,
or the Scottish League One.
Scottish League One, not
One,
Scottish.
okay.
Yeah,
So that is
championship.
where you see Montrose, kind of
Exactly.
south.
Yeah, yeah. So that's also for Prince Asari, and we have George Asumeni, who is also playing with an MLS club,
Okay.
Yeah,
MLS.
San Jose's
San Jose Earthquakes, okay.
So he's attached, and all these were done or engineered by Sapon, So and many more. So in the month of July, I guess we are planning a trip to the UK, still to create opportunities for young and talented players, to Backwood Academy. We have a good relationship with them, and the idea is to help young players to, exhibit what they can do, and there'll be scouts and agents as well, and there are, elite coaches there who are integral part of the school, Darren, Warrell, and all they are key people that are handling the academy.
I'm a footballer. Before I can join the Mirage Soccer boot camp, do I need to register with you?
Yes. So we'll display the registration details on the screen. Okay. However, you can actually reach me directly 054-092-48 4813 and get registered. 0540924813.
Is
Going to
that
take
any
you through.
cost?
It is at a cost, but at a very leveraged cost. Registration is about 400 cedis, and then at a monthly fee of 1,000 cedis. The idea is to bring a foreign experience to Ghana because many players do not have that opportunity to experience international standard of training. You get it. So when they go to play scouting tournament, which we'll be discussing, scouting, you know, they lack the necessary rudiments to help them get selected. So the idea is to come and, give a different narrative to the game of football, so that the player is enlightened, understands their specific roles, understands what goes into,
Before
football.
we proceed with that, let me ask this question: do you think the average Ghanaian can afford a 1,000 cedis every month?
One thing about football is you find yourself where the relevant institutions and relevant, tools that are necessary for your exposure are. And there are not many places like that.
Very true.
So if you end up paying a little fee for a very long time at a place, there are no structures to engineer your growth. You understand? And your exposure in the international community. You are better off thinking about it, and making the relevant investment needed. Listen, any good thing that you wish to do, once it is something you want to pursue, you invest.
Someone would want to invest but doesn't have the money to invest, and I can tell for a fact that the very, very, very well talented players are the ones who struggle to get this money to pay for.
Yeah, so
is there anything that is going to be done for them? Maybe a slash or something?
Yes, so once in a while, we organize scouting tournaments.
Okay.
The idea for the scouting tournaments is to, create room for very talented but needy players. Because we cannot just accept you on the basis that, I'm a good player, but
I can play, so I want to join you.
We need to use our expertise to identify your potential as a good player. You may be good in your own eyes, but we have the technical eye to judge. So through that scouting tournament, we are able to place our hands on people who really need help. It's not as though we are looking for elite players to develop. Then what's the point? However, football is business. And because football is business, you must be very practical about what you gather to develop.
Okay.
Else, you waste a lot of resources. And the player can even have a change of mind. And you have wasted the money already. You get it? But there are instances the player plays. That's why different factors goes into scouting of players. You get, we are not just looking at your technical abilities. You get it? There are psychological traits that also play a role. You get it?
Yeah.
And they communicate a lot to us. And it is more than enough for us to conclude that, you are in good shape or you are more than good too.
Okay, so I join your club. I want to really join you. What are the benefits aside you growing or aside you training me to become a quality player? Because a lot of players have the talents, but you nurture me to be the quality player you'd want me to be. After all of these things, what do I benefit? Do you help me get a team outside? What do I benefit aside taking me through the ranks of training and everything? What do I benefit again?
That's a very good question. So the ideal mode of football development is to get connected to the right opportunity.
Okay.
In our case, we have over 66 European clubs who are affiliates to us, and we supply more, like, if I can use that word, we feed them with talent, developed talents, and we have access to thousands of academies, in Europe as well, football academies, that will integrate you and also develop you to their taste. And so, because we are the one doing the development, we engineer the process of your recruitment in the international community. Aside that, we are able to ascertain whether you can continue playing, or we should propose other football programs which are not necessarily playing, because you may not be an ideal player that will be marketable. You get it? So we give orientation on how to go. You could do FIFA programs, coaching courses, and what have you.
Okay, that's fine. So let's go into the scouting process.
Yes. Now, the whole idea of scouting is to identify a wholesome player who can exhibit key qualities, such as technical qualities, such as psychological qualities, such as physical qualities. You understand? And even awareness. So when we talk about technical qualities, we are looking at basic techniques. So basic techniques in football are passing techniques, how a player is able to initiate a pass, which part of the foot is used, in giving those passes, how you're able to shoot, which part of your foot is used to contact the ball when driving the shot, how you are able to defend, either on the ground or aerial tackle. You understand? So all these shooting, dribbling, passing come together as technical components that we look out for when scouting for a player. One, technical. Then we come to physical. Physical, we can describe it as basic motor qualities. When we say basic motor qualities, we are looking at strength. What you have, what God gave you. You understand? So your strength, your speed, you get it. Your ability to, move, you get it. These are things that we are looking at as God gave it to you and you have it. But your ability to use them in the game of football, is what we're talking. So that's the physical component. We need to see how your endurance in the game. You understand? Yeah. How you're able to move with the football at a certain pace. You understand? That's a technical speed. And all those components fall under physical. Then we come to psychological. So we are basically talking about your awareness, decision making, talking about teamwork, talking about reasoning within the game, talking about your disposition, talking about your demeanor with and without the ball. You understand? So all these are things that we look out for as a psychological components, how the person behaves when he doesn't, when no one is watching him. You understand? Yeah. And his contribution to the game and all that. Then we talk about tactical. The tactical area is very broad, but in layman's understanding, we are looking at how the player behaves in an instance where he receives a ball, or in an instance where a ball hasn't gotten to him. You understand? So we are looking at the positioning of the player. We are looking at the player's transitions. We are looking at cover. We are looking at, build up how the player is able to, engage his colleagues, teammates. and move the football forward, you know. And you see, when a player often finds themselves in these scouting tournaments, what they are, the players, what they are looking at is their dribbling abilities.
Okay.
You get it?
That is the attackers.
That's the attackers.
Okay.
And for defense, they are looking at
The physicality.
endurance. You get it? It's like just one thing, endurance. We have complex qualities, motor qualities, and then basic motor qualities. So the basic motor quality is just using one energy level. So how you apply the speed, how you apply the endurance, exactly. And it affects selection a lot. It affects selection because the scout is looking at all these broad areas that I have mentioned. He is looking at you in relation to your teammates. He is looking at you without the football. He is looking at your endurance level. He is looking at your reasoning. He is looking at how you think into the game. And you find players waiting for the ball to get to them before they show what they can do. And I discovered a very common phenomenon. You see, there are footballers, we call something offensive transition. So offensive transition is when you are not in possession of the football, but you win the football to outwit your opponents. So
that should be more or less like turnovers.
Turnover. Well, I'm not very comfortable using terminologies that I'm not familiar with. Yes. So what it means is that you are in the final third, or
you are in the final third of defense or attack
of attack, not defense.
So you're attacking.
You are attacking.
Okay.
But you are not in possession of the football.
You, the player.
The team is not in possession of the football.
Okay.
You see. But the football is in the defense, the first third of your opponent.
Okay. Of the opponent in possession of the ball.
Yes.
So they have the ball in the first third.
In the first third.
Okay.
And you are in your final third. That is
in their first third.
The wisdom to work as a team to win the football within either the middle third or final third, and then score a goal, is the offensive transition. We have a lot of players who sleep because they want the football to come from
the first third
third to the middle third before they begin their
press.
You get it? And in scouting, this happens a lot because the players are thinking that, as for me, I can function when the ball comes to me. But the scout is also looking at your...
What can you offer without the ball?
Yes! You get what I'm saying? You get it? What are you thinking? What? And when you have a better understanding of these components and fields in the game of football, it makes you a better person. And football is basically about these things. I mean, your conditioning, that is building your fitness, the tactical approach, talking about the psychology, and then the physical basic component. So once a player is on the field, and amazingly, Y Scout, Global Scout, all these scouting platforms, you know what they do? They pick out these specific functions in football when your video is run on them. How many percentage of passes did you initiate in the game? So they rate over 100. That poor player, they are asking data or software is asking that in the entire 90 minutes, how many passes did you initiate? In the entire, how many dribbling did you initiate?
Okay.
In the entire game, how many shots did you take? How many aerial duels did you win? Ground duels did you win? Goalkeeping saves did you make? You understand?
How many tackles?
Transitions,
How many interceptions?
tackles, interceptions. But the player is thinking about his specific role.
And I think this should also depend on the. This will take me to the tactics.
Yes.
So if I am Burnley playing against Man City, obviously I'm not going to have much of the ball. So if I'm an attacker or I'm a midfielder, you don't expect my passes to go that high because I'll have little of the ball. And comparing a player like Josh Brownhill to Rodri can give about 405 passes in a game. I'm just exaggerating. Brian will give about 30
Minimal.
because he will have little of the ball. So will the software recognize all of these things, or you just want no? So far as you're midfielder, you need to get this. As far as you're an attacker, you need to have these shots on goal, this attempt. Is that how it works?
You see, the depending on what type of software it is,
Okay.
do you understand? Has limitation because it's technology. That's why you do not operate softwares in isolation. So no serious scouts depends on just data metrics for selection of a player.
Okay.
They want to see the player in their natural state. Do you understand? So that it confirms the data that has been deduced by the software. But in most cases, data is accurate.
Okay.
The softwares are able to correlate your general performance in the game against other players playing specific same roles.
Okay.
So it is important for any given player to have the understanding that once I am on the field, I am not only expected to give passes. It's a whole game and different responsibility are expected of me.
Okay.
And a better understanding of the game also helps in achieving these roles. For example, there are specific training modules that will never make the player versatile. When you play 11v11 all the time as a team, you get it.
That is when you're training.
When you're training,
Okay.
you deprive your players learning process. So in most cases, it's important to even integrate goalkeepers in games
To
play so that they know how to exchange or interchange passes. And small-sided games are structured such that the more you engage in them, you move into the real game situations with them. You get it. And that's the ideology Pep Guardiola has built his philosophy on, as well as Ancelotti and many others, because they are looking at a bigger picture and they do not want to create that deficiencies for their players. What has scouting done for African football, Ghana football? It has accomplished a lot, but more can be done. The challenges most of the time is when a player is scouted, there are a lot of interceptors. You have somebody that comes in as a player manager. I'm talking about factors that leads to a scouted player not progressing to the next stage of selection. So yes, a scouting tournament has been organized. The player has successfully gone through the mails, has qualified. He's been selected. He has to go. About 80% of players that are scouted barely honor the invitation to go and play.
Reason is
Managerial problems, number one. And I'll touch on it briefly. You have somebody who rears his face and say the player is mine. and as a result, they are not going to agree to whatever processes. So it happens during the registration. There's something called affidavits that you have to you indicate who is, the caregiver or a guardian to the player. In most cases, the guardian is stated. In other cases, it is forged. Then there's a problem and the player is never able to honor. Another challenge is nepotism. People are fond of using who they know. So when the scout comes and selects a player who is talented and must honor a particular deal, they feel that their player should go. Player that they are fond of, they are loyal to them, what have you, and they quickly, do whatever thing to obstruct the whole transfer process. Another thing is data on the player, like this discrepancies I spoke of with the registration of the player. He goes through a successful tournament, he's picked, he's the favorite, but he has a passport. A passport's age is different from what is captured in the FIFA Connect system. And people are fond of trying to turn hands, to resolve all these discrepancies. Don't turn hands. The legitimate thing to do is make sure any document you have aligns with what registration has been captured in the FIFA Connect system. Do you understand?
Very well.
Make sure all documents you have aligns with whatever. That is also to say that be very particular when you are signing up onto a club. Be there and know what sort of information is fed into the FIFA Connect system, because you cannot easily expunge the details that are fed in there, and it can affect your life entirely. You understand? So that's basically, things that obstruct or derail scouting process after the player has eventually been selected or scouted and then has to go. The club is Peterhead United. It's a Scottish League One.
Peterhead,
Yes.
Peterhead United.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
Peterhead
Prince
United.
Asari's club.
Scottish League One.
Exactly. That's a club that he's been scouted to. So
Let me ask you this in relating to football administration. Do you agree to the fact that a lot of Ghanaians, football fanatics, footballers, young footballers, say management and administration in Ghanaian football is not well done? Do you agree to that?
it is not. Yes,
It is not well done.
I agree.
So, does it start from the top, that is the Football Association,
Yeah.
or it is we at the regional or divisional level who are not working well?
I started by listing the departments
Yes.
that come together to make football administration. So depending on which department is in question, for example, a layperson's understanding of football administration is that I am attached to a club and I am providing services to the club. That is all. But even the president of the Ghana Football Association is a football administrator. You see, so it's a big umbrella and there are lapses everywhere. However, some of the lapses are being addressed and others too are African problems. That's the best way to put it. African problems as in problems of character. You understand? Problems of character. You expect that a club has, let's say, employed a particular person to perform a specific role, and you would expect that the person will have that liberty and tools to work with. But the truth is that the person has been employed without the necessary logistics or tools to work with. So at the end of the day, what you are seeking to achieve, you will not achieve. And the person ends up being sabotaged at the basis that he is not performing. You know,
Very
and
true.
it's a similar incident that happened with, the Tamale incidents. You get it, where a doctor, was sacked, or suspended for whatever reason. So the problems are everywhere. Problems with football administrations are crazy. They are crazy because at the end of the day, it affects the beauty of the game. Just imagine a mistake on the part of a referee. Imagine a mistake on the part of a match commissioner.
Yeah.
Imagine the mistake of somebody doing registrations in the FIFA Connect system for a player. And instead of 2001, he makes it 2021. Forever, the player's football life is truncated.
Yeah. Very true.
You get it? Imagine being put in a position to publish content, you understand, at any level, and accidentally you pick up a file from your phone. Do you understand? That is profane or not well censored, and it goes to a company, you get it, or an institution that is supposed to publish good content. That's a mistake on your part, but nobody saw that you were the one that did it. It comes as an indictment to there. So what can be done? What can be done is that, starting from the top, football administrators must understand that we are human beings working, and the possibility of error is high. That's what number one. Number two, there has to be provision or room for amends, quick amends. That is to say that one person must not be put to a task. So you should have a reviewing platform, that whatever content that is supposed to, you understand, go out, or whatever communicate, because you may think that a club owner or someone who is in charge of an organization knows what to say, but goes to say it, and it undermines, the reputation of the club or the organization. So there has to be reviewing of whoever is to put whatever out there. Number three, there must be a very healthy organizational relationship. You know why? The reason why we have problems is because a lot of people are snitching. It happens in normal work life, it happens in coaching life, it happens. And this is how it works. You are performing your role at your best quality, and somebody feels that the rate at which you are working, your intention is to outwit them or take their role. You understand?
Yeah.
But you are trying to help the organization to achieve their optimum best. In this instance, when whoever is in charge does not prioritize what the mandate is, you get it, and concentrate on frivolous, you will lose a very quality resource person. Because whoever is coming to you to lodge a complaint, or whoever is coming to you to discuss anything about whoever they want off, do you understand, doesn't care about you, the one the report is being lodged to, doesn't care about, that lasting impact is going to have, when the person is out of place. So it is important for that good relationship to be very managed, and lastly, there must be a line of command. That's who is in charge of this, who must be reported to when it comes to that. Football administration issues, you can have 3 or 4 different commands. You go do it and there's a problem, and you cannot even mention who asked you to do what. And all these things must be carefully, thought through, so that the problems that comes with managing football related issues, are a bit less, you know.
So let me wrap up with us.
Yeah.
As a coach, as a scout, as a football administrator, and as a former footballer who's played in Coast
Ankara
and then,
Football Club.
yeah, you've played in the division also. So you have a lot of experience under your belt. The young ones, the young talents, would want to learn a lot, and I know definitely they will learn a lot with this interview. What should you tell them as a footballer? What are the habits that you shouldn't adopt? It shouldn't be part of you if you want to really go further in your football career. What shouldn't you do? What should you do?
Discipline. That's number one. A player must have a sense of discipline in terms of time consciousness. A player must be disciplined in terms of reporting to training sessions. Must be disciplined in terms of how they carry themselves about, their utterances. Number two, a healthy diet and good rest. A lot of players do not think it is important, but what you feed is what you become. What you feed on is what you become. And the more you deny yourself of rest, you underperform. So eat the right food, avoid junk food and unnecessary, diets. Manage your carbohydrates, manage your proteins. You understand? Avoid the calories. You get it? And fats. And just make sure that whatever time you have to rest as a professional footballer or as an amateur footballer, you manage that resting period well. You can be misled to do socials. You can be misled to jump on the internet to check, or your phone addiction, and all of these things. Once you are playing, that is what you've chosen to do. And avoid anything that sets in the gap, for. And the other thing is resilience. A lot of young and talented players, they have the talents, but when it comes to hitting the rock to the core, there's a problem. You get it? And it is because of late development in African football. So somebody gets up, I want to play football at the age of 21. You get it? And you are now coming to teach the person the fundamental basics or criteria of football. Wow. So he grinds on it. But in Europe, you have a kid,
11, 12.
early, and everything. He's on the spot and built with a physique and everything. And so resilience in understanding that development is late, fine. However, it is attainable. So that means do not compromise on your training schedules. Do not compromise on personal developmental traits that you need to have. And then the other thing is that young talent must have players or mentors, people they want to learn from, or they want to be like. When you do not, especially relating to the specific role you play as a footballer, find somebody who has become successful at that specific position or role, and then emulate and ignore negative traits, that comes with, the person. And I believe with many others, they will be fine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Owusu Ansah, for answering my request to be here. I think you've already you've said a lot, and our viewers will learn a lot. Myself, I've learned a lot in terms of from the coaching aspect, from the scouting aspect, from the administrative aspect. I think there are a lot of things a lot of football fans didn't know, and sometimes we have certain perceptions about how football is being run. My only thing is, the Ghana, you mentioned sponsorship. The Ghana Premier League itself lacks sponsorship. So how do you expect clubs in Division 1, even clubs in the Premier League, to get sponsorship? It is difficult for football in Ghana because you can talk for a fact that yes, the women's football have more targets, and we had bet power, but because it wasn't being run or the league wasn't run on, they had to draw back. And that's why you have no sponsorship. So sometimes someone will set behind, someone will set back and say, well, I blame the Ghana Football Association because in as much as some people are not doing their jobs right, you are the mother of all. And you have to make sure that you put everything in its right place. If you do that, then football is going to work in Ghana. If you don't, you are going to suffer as you are suffering. Because other countries like Tanzania, DR Congo, their football is even Sudan, they are developing as a football nation. And look at where we are, still static. So someone somewhere will bluntly tell you this is the fault of the Ghana Football Association. But I'm very grateful for giving us insight of how things work. It is not only up to a specific agency or a specific administration. We all need to work, and if you work systematically, we are going to churn out.
I mean, just to add on the bit of sponsorship. I mean, it's quite a challenge, and when you look at the efforts the Ghana Football Association is putting in to secure sponsorships and all, the challenge is more evident because you are managing clubs who are sometimes finding it difficult to also comply with, rules of the game, and some regulations. As a result, it mars the beauty of the game, and it doesn't make investments into that area very lucrative. But for individual clubs, I would say that you are better off seeing the club you are running as a business,
Okay.
picturing it as a business, designing a business proposal for it, documenting your plan, your year plan, you understand, and make use of, digital works, for example, social media or graphic design works, the website and all of that. And I believe that, I mean, altogether, it's gonna be wholesome.
All right, so it has been a very great conversation with an astute football administrator. He's a coach, he's a scout, and he's a former footballer. He's a former footballer. So that is Mr. Benjamin Owusu Ansah, who is giving us all details we need to know as far as football is concerned in Ghana. You need to make sure as a footballer that you do the right thing, the most important things you need to do for the growth of yourself. And let me not forget that he is also a member of the Mirage
Football,
Boot Camp, which happens every Saturday. So the details will be on the screens. If you want to join them, this is what you need to know. And he already stated his number, so you reach out to them if you're a footballer and you want to develop yourself as a professional footballer. This is the Gajio Podcast. My name is Ejare, and you kindly like our content on YouTube as German Sports. You click the notification bell, you subscribe, and you enjoy all of our content. On TikTok is the German Studios. You make sure you enjoy all of our content. We'll see you again in another episode.